but let's look at some Intel patents so I can show you kind of what I'm talking about. So all you do is go to uspto.gov. I'm going to show you how to get to the right page, which I would bookmark, okay? Go to patents, go to search for patents, okay? Go to patent public search, hit basic search. If you want to learn how to use the advanced search, it's pretty complicated, not easy at all, but try basic search. Bookmark this page. Okay, so the thing you need to know about patents is that all patents are invented by people, but the patent ownership can be assigned. So when you join a company, you have an assignment agreement that you're assigning your work to the company. I know, wonderful, right? So you hit assignee name and type in Intel. So this ensures, oh my God, that there are only one inventor or assigned company that pulls up. Okay, so now one of the issues here is you're going to get patent applications and issued patents. Applications mature to issued patents. So applications start as applications, they're not patents, and then slowly they become issued patents. The issued patents you could tell because they have an issued patent number. We're right now in the 12 million range. My patent on the plaque back there, I think, was in the 8 million range. So let's start looking at these patents. But before we do that, I probably want to make a place in the model where I'm going to write IP. I only have drug patents. All the other, but the patent system's the same no matter what your invention is. It doesn't make a difference. Anybody else have questions on patents? It's a little clinic on patents. What can be patented? A wonderful question that is an age-old question. In general, you cannot patent something that is designed. So there are design patents, but in general, these are very tough patents to enforce. So for example, you make a headset. You can patent the design of the headset, and there's now a separate thing called a design patent. But in general, this is, kind of you're on very shaky ground. Generally, the next kind of like less weak patent you could do is something called a method. So you could have a method of doing something. But that is also very hard to enforce. They're easy to get, but hard to enforce. The strongest patents when you actually invent a thing, which is sometimes called a composition patent. And so if you invent a process, that's much less exciting, unless it's really novel. So an invention has to be non-obvious to a practitioner in the art. So somebody who knows semiconductors has to say this was not expected. Just to be novel and unexpected and non-obvious. There's a lot of other standards, but that's sort of the basics. All patents are the same length, interestingly. Every patent's 20 years from the filing or 17 years from the issuance. Patents cost roughly the same amount to file in the US Patent Office. You don't get any freebies or anything. If somebody infringes your patent, you can sue them and enjoin them and stuff like that. All patents have the same duration. The best patent of all time. That's a good question. That I don't know. All right, let's start with this one. This is a unifying interface for cloud content sharing services. It's kind of a bizarre thing for Intel. Sometimes IP can be, brand can be stronger than IP. Yeah, so you don't need necessarily to have a patent or trademark if you have a brand, that you're known for. Yeah, the rock isn't patented. He might be trademarked, but even still, there's only one rock. Yeah, chemical. I mean, remember, all patents expire after 17 years, no matter what. So there is no old patent that still works. It's 17 and out, and it's over. Everybody can use it at that point. You cannot patent a trademark. Trademark is a different thing. A moniker, a name, a brand name, those are trademarks. Patents are inventions. They have to be invented. As I mentioned, they have to be novel to people who are experts in that field. They have to be non-obvious. All right, so who are the inventors here? I'm going to start with this guy, Stephen J. Burkle, and he's out of the Portland office for Intel, which I've never heard of. So I'm wondering what this patent is. And so here's how you look at a patent. You want to look at what's called the claims. So there's all this other stuff in here, but really what you care about is the claim. And so you're going to see some charts. This is just some diagrams about Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. And so this is some kind of unified platform for storage. Looks like there's also some computer logic there, which is what's important. And you can read the patent just like a normal patent, a normal document. And the important thing about patents that's really cool, that nobody really understands, is the patent must teach the invention. The patent must teach the invention. No, I don't think we filed for any patents. And so if the patent doesn't adequately teach the invention, the patent can actually be voided. So that's sort of something to keep in mind. So anyway, as you read these things, what you realize is that you have the best companies that know the space the best, teaching you how their inventions work. And that can often be very insightful. If you really want to learn a space, read the patents. It'll be very, very useful. And so the first part of the patent I like to look at is called the claim. And the first claim is, this is what we're claiming we invented. Okay, and when you analyze these claims, you have to ask yourself, is this an actual invention? And most of the time, the answer is no. And why is that the case? Well, most patents are obvious. We just try to patent anything we can. And it makes, the lawyers pay more money. Yeah, the lawyers get paid. But this is why Elon doesn't care about his patents, because it's sort of, it's all a game that doesn't really mean a lot. Now in pharma it means a lot, but in the rest of the world it really means a lot less. So they're claiming they invented a system comprising of memory, computer readable instructions, and at least one processor circuit to execute the computer readable instructions, to cause the display of a user interface element in a GUI, the first user interface elements to identify files and directories maintained by a plurality of cloud services. This is like a cloud aggregator. Cause display of a second interface element in the GUI with the name of one of cloud services that maintains a list of files, etc. And update information displayed in the GUI based on a manipulation of the fourth user interface element, and invoke an API associated with one of the first cloud services to control access to the files. Okay, so this is what it sounds like. It is a multi-cloud system. That's actually kind of a neat idea. If you've ever had Azure and AWS, it's a little bit of a pain to interface across all of them, so kind of a neat idea. But Intel's not really known for its software, so not really sure where that's going to go. All patents have the same thing. It's 17 years from the issuance or 20 years from the filing. In drugs, you can get something called Hatch-Waxman exclusivity restoration, which is you can get a couple of years back for the clinical trial time. Okay, here's Intel's next patent. And this is from their Los Altos group, and it's optimizing head-mounted displays for augmented reality. Again, not really a big business for them. And it also shows you just how, like, what are these companies working on? You may not even have known that Intel works on augmented reality. That might be a surprise to you. Patents are jurisdictional, so US patent is for the US and that's it. I do think patents should be a little longer. And again, we want to go to the claims, but there are some nice diagrams and stuff like that sometimes you want to look at. And the patent refers to the diagrams. And like I said, it will teach what it is trying to invent in the text. So here it teaches head-mounted displays are becoming increasingly popular for AR and VR. AR systems provide see-through, transparent, or translucent displays upon which to project virtual objects. Many VR systems instead employ opaque or enclosed screens. These may completely obscure the user's field of view of the real world, and eliminating the user's perception of the real world may be integral to a successful VR experience. So it goes on and on about what it is they're inventing and why. But let's look at the claim. The main claim here is, and I should go back to the Intel Cloud claim as to whether or not that was novel. I would argue that patent was not novel and not obvious, because it's anybody in the field could have made that and anticipated it from other GUIs. So I would say the cloud GUIs are the so-called prior art that the artisan in the field would say, okay, this is just like any other cloud GUI I've already made. So why do I need to make another cloud GUI? Most patents that get filed by a serious company do mature into a patent. But I don't know, I don't have the math there. Maybe ChatGPT can help on that one. Okay, so they're claiming a head-mounted display system with a display, a camera, an accelerometer, a gyroscope, at least one memory, machine-readable instructions, and at least one processor circuit to be programmed by the machine-readable instructions to detect a first position and a first head direction of a user based on sensor data, determine the latency associated with the time to cause an image to be displayed, determine a predicted position and a predicted head direction of the user, impose a constraint on the first position of the image, and render the second portion of the image for presentation and display. So this stuff I think is all well known to the field of head-mounted displays and stuff like that. And you can actually see, using a different system, what patents that the patent examiner that works for the PTO, and remember Einstein was a patent examiner, what patents were sort of looked at by the patent examiner. Now interestingly, note the name Bosworth here. That is the Facebook CTO, also known as Boz, and you have a number of patents there from Boz in this space. Maybe some other patents in this space. So that's the second patent we've looked at, both of which are not that interesting to Intel, but you have to go through this research painstakingly. Okay, this one's called Embedded Bridge Die with Through Silicon Bias. So I don't even know what that is. So this could be important learning. And you shouldn't really invest in sectors that you have no clue what any of the products are. That's sort of, you know, why would you do that when you can invest in stuff where you do know what the products are? But it is good to learn. Sure, somewhat listed out of order too, which is funny. GPT, I'm sure would do a good job, but my job is not to summarize it really. I'm trying to actually learn. So the abstract is an IC package comprising a substrate having a first side and an opposing a second side and a bridge die within the substrate. Well, I definitely want to know what a bridge die is because I have no clue. I could just ask ChatGPT here. A bridge die in semiconductors refers to a type of IC die that serves as an intermediary connection between two or more chips. It is commonly used in multi-die packaging or chiplet architectures to enable high bandwidth and efficient communication between the dies. Okay, how about this? Can you explain what a die is in the first place? A die is a small block of silicon or another semiconductor material that contains the functional circuitry of an IC. It is the basic building block of electronic devices and serves as the physical platform where transistors, resistors, capacitors, and other components are fabricated to perform specific tasks. A die is created through the process of photolithography on a wafer. The wafer is processed to build layers of transistors, forming the IC. After the wafer is fabricated, it is cut or diced into individual pieces called die, or dies. Yeah, I know how to use GPT. Each die corresponds to a single complete IC. Okay. A beta die needs a package for integration into a circuit board. Usually, Georgios, you have to actually make the thing and test it. If it's just an idea, it's kind of hard to patent. You have to at least make some of it and patent it. I don't think you could just sketch it out. In short, the die is the fundamental chip at the heart of electronic devices, providing a critical functionality that powers modern technology. But the die is not the PCB, right? It's the actual processing unit after fabrication. And is, well, I don't know, hats. It depends on what they got it for. Okay, so we have to learn about semiconductors, and you might be like me. You might say, what do I know about semiconductors? I have no clue. So we're gonna have to make a part of our model that's Semiconductors 101. And that's just part of the process, right? I had to do this with pharmaceuticals one day, a long time ago. So there's no shame in the game of being new to the world, right? So there's wafer, and there's die. Well, better than getting it wrong, Henry. You say you better find out. I don't know, but I'm about to find out. So one of the things you might do while you're studying this is you're going to have questions. And I think it's really important to ask questions just so you fully understand it, even if you ask 100 times. So one example is, why is an integrated circuit called integrated? Where does the integrated come from? All right, so let's go back to the patent. We have this term vias, V-I-A-S. I want to know what that is. Vias or vias, maybe vias. Israel just doesn't do great at biotech. It's just like Canada, same thing. There's a bunch of countries that try biotech. They're just not very good at it. They've just had repeated failures. Australia is another one. India doesn't do biotech either. Apotex isn't a biotech company, they're a generic company. India and Israel do generics just fine. Swiss does great biopharma. Korea, it's a cut above all mentioned, but not that great. Yeah, Australia has CSL, facts. But not bigger than everything in Japan. Japan has Takeda, well, fair enough. Chugai is pretty big. And if you combine all the Japanese pharma, it's way bigger than CSL. Australian biotech isn't that great. Generic drugs are just copies of other drugs. They're very easy to make, typically. Biotech is innovative. Clinical trials cost a lot of money to try. It's funny, 𝗠𝗏𝗏 used to be my product. I was the owner of 𝗠𝗏𝗏. A 2-year contract? I don't think so, 𝗟𝗏𝗏. This is a bit of a special price for our beta. Oh, look at MicroStrategy getting smoked. Well, it's good you don't want to give up. I mean, you seem like a smart guy. I wouldn't try to make it all back in one trade, obviously, and I don't think FDA decisions are always going to be the bans. All right, well, I'll try to make you that money back. Take a look at 𝗣𝗑𝗪. That might be a good one. You can come back from that. You can always come back. 𝗣𝗑𝗪, Neumora, those are two. 𝗣𝗑𝗪 is right in your wheelhouse. You learned a lot about Alzheimer's. 𝗣𝗑𝗪 data is very suspicious because the mechanism doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, Godell's tripled our valuation, so not trying to rub salt in anyone's wounds. It is private. Most people don't want private stocks in their portfolio. Private stocks they're good until they're not, right? You could be long a private, and then all of a sudden it's just you get an email update from the CEO. Yeah, it's over. Sorry. GG's. Yeah, AVXL does lie. I don't know if Biome is as easy as it looks. And then I'm not sure about ANAB either. You don't have to get timing exactly right on every short. You know, you're not Superman. If you can get timing perfectly each time. Now, 600,000 ain't a lot. Yeah. I mean, for some people, it's a huge amount. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with big money. You want to make it as a big player. Sometimes you got to lose 600K to learn. I was 19. I lost my first, it's not quite 600, like 400 or so. Blew my whole stock trading account in a merger arb deal. You know, just take, you know, a real winner takes it in stride and just keeps going, man. You can't cry about it. Crying's not going to get you the money back. Fight. Keep fighting. Learn. But I think you have to learn the right lesson. You know, and like I said, I mean, it's embarrassing. Nobody wants to actually do it, but there is a lot of benefit to reading some of these old textbooks. I hate to say it because I'm not a book smart guy. I'm a street smart guy, even though everyone thinks I'm a book smart guy.